Good morning. Welcome to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. Happy Friday. Thanks for tuning into the show as we have plenty to discuss, including a Stanley Cup Finals that is a rematch from a year ago. We'll get to that in just a few minutes. Danny Burke will preview today's afternoon and evening baseball slate. Of course, we will have Sam McQuillan on from Legal Sports Report, and also Adam Kaufman joins us with the latest in the National Basketball Association, which includes another game in the playoffs this weekend. We'll have a preview of that game as well. But first, let's get started. And yes, on Wednesday night, the puck will drop in Edmonton for the second consecutive year in the Stanley Cup Finals. The Edmonton Oilers, not favored at any point to go back or even win any series over the last two. They beat the Stars 6-3, and they're back in the championship with the rematch against the Florida Panthers. The Oilers went up 2-0 early, and the Stars pulled their goaltender, Jake Ottinger, only 7 minutes into the game. The Stars cut the lead 4-3 in the third period, and the Oilers answered back with 2 goals themselves. So needless to say, it was a team effort for the Oilers getting back to the finals again. Here's Leon Draisaitl and Connor McDavid on the win.
It's ironic you two guys are up here, but it was a team. Both goalies got 6 wins. You've used 9 defensemen. You got 14 forwards now that have scored. You got 11 guys with 3 or more goals. Just a thought on the amount of depth and how many good players you have that contributed to you guys going on this 12-2 run the last 14 games.
Yeah, I mean, that's what's been winning us hockey games, and you need that this time of year. We knew we were going to need everybody. Both goalies have given us a chance every night. And our depth has been incredible, and we've been playing good hockey, good solid hockey throughout the entire lineup, and obviously this time of year you need that, and I think so far we've done a great job of that.
Well, I think we were better for going through last year. It was a great learning experience, and it's really driven us all year. I think this run has felt different than last year. It's felt very normal. It's felt very, I don't want to say boring because it's not boring at all, but just a little, it hasn't been as emotional. We haven't had the highs and we haven't had the lows. Just kind of been steady, and I think that's put us in a good position. Those games can be emotionally draining. We're not drained. As Bob referenced, we've got lots of depth. We've got as good a chance as they do. Yeah.
Meanwhile, a controversial decision for Dallas Stars head coach Peter DeBoer, who ends up pulling his goaltender after they went down a couple of goals early in this one. Here is DeBoer on that decision.
Well, anytime you pull a goalie, there's the reasoning's always to try and spark your group. So that was the number one reason. We had talked endlessly in this series about trying to play with the lead. And obviously we were in a 2-0 hole right away. And you know what, I didn't take that lightly, and I didn't blame it all on Jake. But, the reality is if you go back to last year's playoffs, he's lost 6 to 7 games to Edmonton, and we gave up 2 shots on 2 goals in an elimination game. So, it was partly to spark our team and wake them up, and partly, knowing that, status quo had not been working, and that's a pretty big sample size.
As we head to the Stanley Cup Finals, we're going to be in for a heck of a series, folks. Look at the odds on the FanDuel Sportsbook. Flip your coin. Oilers and Panthers just about even. Oilers ever slow, slight favorites in the series, and they have the home ice advantage, -113. Should be a great series. Total games, by the way, over 5.5. Yeah, I agree. I think we're headed toward a 6 or 7 game series. All right, meanwhile, back to the NBA we go. The series is not over. The New York Knicks have extended it to at least one more game back in Indianapolis. 111-94. New York beats Indiana. That's the final. Jalen Brunson in the first quarter really was the difference. He had 14 points. Pacers had a hard time hitting threes and had a hard time getting Tyrese Halliburton going. He had 8 points and only attempted 7 shots, and this thing did not come down to the wire. Meanwhile, Tom Thibodeau, Jalen Brunson, certainly happy to get the win and getting back to Madison Square Garden, where, who knows, anything goes.
Coach, can we talk about the job you guys did on Halliburton tonight, holding on to the points?
Yeah, sometimes, it's probably a combination of him, missing some shots he normally makes, but I thought our guys were tight together and trying to make him work for everything. And, that's what you have to do. We have to fight to win every possession.
How much does working on the offensive end of the floor play into that, making him work? It seemed like you guys were more intentional about trying to get him into action tonight.
No, it's basically the same, but sometimes you have opportunities to attack different ways, but there wasn't a big change offensively.
Just happy we responded, honestly, and we came out and we had some energy in the way we played, and just very proud of what we did. And we just got to replicate it in the first quarter of the next game, and then continue to build on that.
Meanwhile, the Indiana Pacers head back home where they can still close out the Knicks. Tyrese Halliburton, who had probably his worst game of the NBA playoffs this year, seemingly in good spirits, essentially saying they just couldn't get anything going from the jump.
Yeah, we weren't great as a group. I thought, we lost the margin battle today. I thought they did a better job in the margins. We turned the ball over too much, didn't rebound to our ability, like we have shown this series. And when you do those two things against these guys in a game that comes down to, so many possessions, it's tough. It's tough. So we got to be better as a group. I think our pace has to be better, and that starts with me. I got to be better there. As a group, we've shown that we can have some success, this playoffs, and it was a rough showing for us tonight. So, we'll watch the film, see where we can get better, and be prepared for Game 6.
And it's always been us against the world, and I don't expect it to change. And it's something that I always told my teammates, we here, and nobody wants us here, but we here, and we broke any barrier that was there, we broke that, and we got here, and we up 3-2 in the series, and we have an opportunity to go back home, and show what we're made of, and I have no doubt in my teammates, and I have so much faith in them, and I know that we're gonna give everything we got, and so.
We'll see what happens on Saturday night. Meanwhile, let's get over to some Major League Baseball news. Doubleheader being played in Philadelphia between the Phillies and Braves, and they end up splitting it. Phillies win the first 5-4. Braves win the second 9-3. Chris Sales pitched great again. 6 scoreless innings in Game 2. Hey, how about the Washington Nationals setting a franchise record in an extra inning? Josh Bell homered in the Nationals' 7-run 10th inning, 9-3 win over the Seattle Mariners. Manager Dave Martinez talked about the extra frame, including a great at-bat from Dylan Cruz.
It took us a minute, but I think it all really started with Dalen's fly ball, to have that sac fly and get us going a little bit there. But towards the end, we started hitting the ball. Even in the 9th inning, we started swinging the bats well. The 8th inning. But it took us a minute. But we've been the last couple of days, we've been hitting the ball really well. So, as I said, Josh Bell, once he gets going, I seen him do those kind of things, so it's awesome to see him swing the bat the way he is.
I think right now the key for the Sacramento, almost said Oakland, Athletics is trying to win any game they can. They've lost 3 straight. They've lost 14 of 15. They've been outscored 117-44. They lost again yesterday. The Blue Jays hit 4 home runs. It was an 8-run second inning, and 12-0 was the final. Come on, A's, got to get it going. Also, the Junior Caminero show continued for the Rays. 6 RBIs. They beat the Astros 13-3. Adam Kaufman.
Face. It's the new face. New face of what? The hell are you talking about? Like seriously. Oh, the new face of the NBA, Anthony. Yeah, okay. You know what I mean? Look, really? Guy's got 2 shots. You're the face of the NBA. Slow down. He's a good player. I've always thought the whole face of the NBA thing was comical. You want him to be the face. of the NBA because you don't like it that all the other faces in the NBA aren't American.
Sports Rage tonight, only on SportsGrid.
And if they go through Cat, that means Cat at 11-1 could be Eastern Conference Finals MVP. The worst team in the WNBA is the Chicago Sky. They have no perimeter play. They're playing Sloot too many minutes. And Angel Reese doesn't have the help she needs.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
I already heard yesterday that he's got no shot to win the Cy Young because it's going to Skubal again. Skubal's winning the Cy Young. No shot for Fried.
They're both terrific. They both have incredible numbers and credentials and stats and strikeouts and ERA and everything. Like every single category, Fried is right there with him.
Pharrell, coast to coast, only on SportsGrid.
We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune in to Game Time Decisions weekdays on SportsGrid.
For me and Adam Kaufman, the key last night wasn't necessarily a Knicks win. It's giving us a lot more to talk about this weekend. Adam on In-Game Live, me on shows, of course, next week. Adam, thanks for coming on the show. Neither of us really care if the Knicks win or lose. It doesn't matter to us. But the Knicks did win, Adam. They ended up covering the spread. And so for people like us in the media, very selfishly, go Knicks, right? And then, at this point, I'm good with whatever happens, right? They gave us an extra game. No one wants to see a 5-game East Finals.
No, I mean, it's I guess there are multiple tiers, right? I mean, I do care as an Indiana backer, but obviously I don't have any fan rooting interest in either of these two teams, that's for sure. But as someone that, as you know, because I've said it multiple times on this show, very pro Pacers at plus money going into the series. You and I, looking at the odds when everything opened, both acknowledged that plus money number, it didn't feel right. It didn't seem right. We liked the Pacers going into this thing. And sure enough, yes, it's 3-2, but it is Indiana that is in front. But selfishly, of course, I wanted there to be a Game 6 just so that Brady Cannon and I have something to talk about on In-Game Live Saturday night and follow in real time versus having to wait until the NBA Finals start on Thursday. Too long a layoff, man. So I'm completely with you. And, I would have thought we'd get more of a game, though, out of the Pacers last night. You mentioned Jalen Brunson in the opening segment as a guy who was a bit of a game changer, and certainly in clearing his point total and going for 30+, he was great, especially early on. But for me, the difference in this game and one of the major handicaps going into this game was what were we going to see out of, Karl Anthony Towns, who obviously entered the game with that bruised knee. There were questions as to whether he was going to play, winds up getting out there and really from the jump was awesome. Double-double at halftime, continued to thrive in the second half. The biggest discrepancy in this 17-point win for the Knicks was when you look at points in the paint, it was, I believe, 60-34 in favor of New York, and most of that is Towns. New York just doubling up Indiana in that category, coupled with, as you noted, Tyrese Halliburton never got going. The role players for Indiana outside of Benedict Mathurin generally never got going. This was a dominant Knicks performance in a game that they never trailed.
I think so. And the other part of this, Adam, we could talk about Brunson all day, so Frank's going to get mad at me, but I'm going to skip him. I want to talk about Halliburton here for a minute. 8 points, 6 assists on 2 of 7 shooting. And, Adam, being in this long enough now, not going to pretend that I know what's going on in full in the NBA. You're going to be a lot more educated than me on the picks and what's going on. But I am good with people, and I'm good with watching post-game. I really liked Halliburton's post-game and watching some of the clips. It seems to me that Indiana's sort of been through it. They've played a lot of these close games, And he just didn't seem to be affected at all post game. At least body language to me tells me, look, I don't know what that's going to mean in the next game, but I can almost guarantee you this guy's going to have a much bigger effort in the next one.
Well, he also sounded like a guy whose team is up 3-2, not down 3-2, right? So they know they've got a little bit of breathing room, just have to win one out of the next two. They're not, obviously you'd like to take care of it if you're the Pacers in Indiana, take the game 7 out of it, take the travel, going on the road, going to MSG, all that stuff. But psychologically, there's no fear of if this does go to a game 7. This is what I keep hearing from the talking heads post game this morning. It's, oh man, Knicks are going to whoop the Pacers if this thing comes back to MSG for a game 7. If you're Indiana, you had better win game 6. Your season is dependent upon game 6 because you got no chance. You're going to, what you just saw tonight in front of Ben Stiller and Timothy Chalamet and Miles Teller and all these celebrities that were in attendance, you're going to get that again tenfold in game 7, Indy, so you had better be ready. And if I'm Halliburton, if I'm the Pacers, I'm listening to all that going, I mean, we won games 1 and 2 here of this series, including a huge comeback and dramatic win with, of course, that giant Halliburton shot that he thought won it, but forced overtime, choke sign out of the gate, a la Reggie Miller there in game 1. And, oh, by the way, just go back to the playoffs last year when these two teams matched up. And yes, the Knicks were severely hampered by injuries, but Indiana won game 7 in New York. Right. They don't care. There's no intimidation there on the part of the Pacers. And I think Halliburton, to your point, knows he was bad last night, knows he didn't do enough. Taking 7 shots wasn't enough, didn't facilitate nearly enough. It's not like he had this big turnover issue. He didn't turn the ball over once. He just wasn't good in his 32 minutes. And this game felt like it was pretty well in hand, even at halftime. New York was just that dominant in this game. And so, to a certain degree, you just kind of shrug it off and you move on. And the Pacers, it's not hard to handicap this team with respect to, like, we spent a lot of time talking about totals and team totals. This team lost one game, it's 2 gentlemen sweeps so far going into the series. Lost 1 game to Milwaukee, lost 1 game to Cleveland. The common denominator so far throughout, what's it been, 15 games so far this team has played in the playoffs. If they score more than 105 points, they win. If they score less than that, they lose. So it's if the offense doesn't get going, relatively early, and I don't mean these 45-point first quarters, but you can't have 45 points in the first half like what we saw last night. If they just play a respectable brand of basketball, their brand of basketball, fast-paced, as Halliburton talked about earlier in the clip you played, and score your 110 points that they so typically score, they're going to win because New York can't keep up with that.
Okay, so make your pick. 3.5, total 218. Go.
I will go over on the total, although I would still rather take the Pacers team total and avoid the game total over because I have more faith in Indy. As far as the spread, I guess I would lay it with Indy. No, I mean, I would lean toward laying it with Indy. I believe that the Pacers win this game. I just, could it, like we saw with OKC in Minnesota, could it fall inside the number at, a 3-point spread becomes a 2-point win, that kind of thing. I would rather just take Indy on the money line, pair it with something else, get a little bit better odds. Hell, take Indy with the money line and put it with Brunson 25+ points or 20+ points and do it that way.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. Adam, great stuff as always. Maybe, just maybe, we'll be talking game 7 next week. I don't know. We'll see what happens. I'm with you. Yeah, I'm with you. I
even
think
if we're not, we're still talking about an OKC finals win. These two teams are just playing toward the inevitable anyhow.
It's so true. It's so true. I mean, either of these two teams will be lucky to win 2 games. All right, Adam. Thanks again for coming on. Danny Burke's up next with some baseball. Don't go away.
Face is the new face. New face of what? The hell are you talking about? Like seriously. Oh, the new face of the NBA, Anthony. Yeah, okay. You know what I mean? Like, really? Guy's got 2 shots. You're the face of the NBA. Slow down. He's a good player. I've always thought the whole face of the NBA thing was comical. You want him to be the face of the NBA because you don't like it that all the other faces in the NBA aren't American.
Sports Rage tonight, only on SportsGrid.
And if they go through Cat, that means Cat at 11-1 could be Eastern Conference Finals MVP. The worst team in the WNBA is the Chicago Sky. They have no perimeter play. They're playing Sloot too many minutes. And Angel Reese doesn't have the help she needs.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
I already heard yesterday that he's got no shot to win the Cy Young because it's going to Scoogle again. Scoogle's winning the Cy Young, no shot for free.
They're both terrific. They both have incredible numbers and credentials and stats and strikeouts and ERA and everything, like every single category. Freed is right there with him.
Pharrell, coast to coast, only on SportsGrid.
We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune in to Game Time Decisions weekdays on SportsGrid.
Very rare to get a World Series rematch this early in a baseball season, especially when you're talking about these juggernauts between the Yankees and Dodgers. So we had to bring in Danny Burke to get an opinion on the series this weekend, as much as it pains me to do Yankees talk for 6 minutes here on the show. So I'll try to get through it. Danny, thanks for coming on NewsWire. I mean, it's as simple as that here, is that we got overloaded in the World Series, and it definitely was fun to see these two teams playing against each other. What do you think we get this weekend? You know, I mean, I think the fact that the games are nationally televised and, you know, you're coming off a World Series, I think you'll get a little more juice normally than you would get in a, let's say, May 30th series.
Yeah, without a doubt. And I mean, anytime you get these teams going against each other, regardless of if they were meeting in the World Series the season prior or not, you're getting each coast in two premier organizations. So yeah, no doubt about it. There's going to be a lot of excitement surrounding these teams, which we know begins tonight. And it's going to be a fun matchup with Tony Gonsolin and Max Fried. I mean, on the side of Max Fried, the dude has been one of the best pitchers in Major League Baseball up to this point. But how good can he be against this offense in the Los Angeles Dodgers? That's what we're going to have to wait and see unfold. And for Gonsolin on the other side, well, we know that he's capable of producing a quality outing here and there, but some of his numbers are a tad bit concerning, especially when you're going up against the Bronx Bombers, who have been living up to the hype of that name. So we see this total at about 9, Craig, and I think that draws some interest. And I think with these teams, most people tend to want to bet the over, but I'm putting a bit more stock into Tony Gonsolin here, because let's be honest, Max Fried should be able to hold the zone if he can pitch somewhat similar to how he's been performing throughout the course of this early stage of the season. And then with Tony Gonsolin on the other side, despite a 4.6 ERA, his FIP is hovering around that 4 flat spot. His skill interactive ERA, aka his Sierra, is sub 4. So I'm thinking we could get at least a good enough outing from Tony Gonsolin to keep this total under 9. It's going to be a closely contested game in my mind. You can trust both bullpens. So hopefully this series starts out on a slower note. I haven't necessarily bet it myself, but I think that would be a very strong lean for me. And then probably if you're getting a little bit of plus money on the side of Los Angeles, I think would be worth a look. I mean, basically anytime these teams are going up against each other, it's a coin flip. So if you're getting value and the pitcher's not that bad on your side, I think that's worth a stab in this area as well.
Good assessment there. All right. So, you know, big picture here for both the Red Sox and Braves is honestly, Danny, I mean, they're going through it. The Red Sox are losing 1 million close games. I mean, are we really back to another season where the Braves can't keep anybody healthy? I mean, A.J. Smith-Shawver goes down yesterday, and that does not seem like an injury that's going to be a couple of weeks. And I mean, he was the favorite to win Rookie of the Year, but tonight, Grant Holmes, I mean, another guy who's come up and done a good job for them. He's minus 160. Hopefully they can keep him healthy. I'm not sure. Red Sox plus 136 tonight. Danny, I guess my theory on the Red Sox is the next 60 games are going to look better than the first 60 because they've just been really bad luck when you lose so many one-run games. So my tendency is to kind of back them a little bit, but I'm just not sure that I really like them either. Make of tonight's game.
Yeah, no, and that's a great way to look about it. I completely agree. I still think the Boston Red Sox are going to turn this around. I mean, the fact that they keep losing these games in painful fashion by one run, as you alluded to, it's got to flip and kind of regress to the mean at some point, you would figure. But I don't hate the idea of looking at the plus money with them in this spot. I mean, like you said, the Braves just keep getting banged up. Can't be great for the morale around this team, but they do keep finding a way. It's just the price is really egregious to lay over minus 160. I know Holmes has been a solid pitcher, and I don't love the idea of trusting Giolito, but I get the attraction toward Boston, especially with Atlanta coming off that doubleheader. But the way that I am betting this, Craig, is I'm taking over 9 runs, got minus 124 at FanDuel for the flat 9. And again, you look at Holmes and his numbers are good, but the wind is blowing out about 13 miles per hour to left center field. I think Boston's bats can come alive in this situation, and the bullpen may be a bit depleted for Atlanta following that doubleheader. Giolito's numbers are always concerning, and I always look for an avenue to fade him, and Atlanta's bats have been good enough to be able to just pummel him today, especially with that wind blowing out. So I think it's going to be higher scoring rather than trusting teams. That's the way that I'm going to approach this handicap.
All right, finally, Danny, real quick here. You know the Royals are going to be jacked up for this series tonight. They want to show that they can fight with the Tigers. I'm not sure that they can, but the matchup is great on paper. Casey Mize has been awesome. Seth Lugo has been awesome as well. Total 8.5. Oof, how are they going to get to 8.5 runs here? I don't know. That's my first thought here looking at this.
Yeah, good question. I'm hoping it comes from the side of Detroit because Lugo's ERA great at 3.02. His xERA, though, is 4.71 and a 4.50 FIP. So there are those underlying concerns with him. And I am going to back Casey Mize, who's got a bit more steady stat line across the board here. Laying a slight price here with the Tigers, but I like them in this game.
Thanks, Danny. Have a great weekend.
Face is the new face. New face of what? The hell are you talking about? Like seriously. Oh, the new face of the NBA, Anthony. Yeah, okay. You know what I mean? Like, really? Guy's got 2 shots. You're the face of the NBA. Slow down. He's a good player. I've always thought the whole face of the NBA thing was comical. You want him to be the face of the NBA because you don't like it that all the other faces of the NBA aren't American.
Sports Rage tonight. Only on SportsGrid.
And if you go through CAT, that means CAT at 11-1 could be Eastern Conference Finals MVP. The worst team in the WNBA is the Chicago Sky. They have no perimeter play. They're playing Sloot too many minutes. And Angel Reese doesn't have the help she needs.
Betting above the rim. Only on SportsGrid.
I already heard yesterday that he's got no shot to win the Cy Young because it's going to Skubal again. Skubal's winning the Cy Young. No shot for free.
They're both terrific. They both have incredible numbers and credentials and stats and strikeouts and ERA and everything. Like every single category. Freed is right there with him.
Pharrell, coast to coast. Only on SportsGrid.
We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune in to Game Time Decisions weekdays on SportsGrid.
So we have two people on the show that are happy that the Knicks are playing on Saturday. One is Frank, our producer. The second is Sam McQuillan. I don't know, maybe somebody else will appear on the show later, but we're not going to be able to bother Sam on Saturday. What time is this game, guys? Saturday? What time is the game?
I think
Got to be night, right?
I think it's at noon. I haven't checked,
Noon?
honestly. I've been
No,
I've been
stop.
I've been so just
Is it
overwhelmed by
Frank?
last night. I haven't looked.
8 p.m., Sam. What are you, nuts? Come on, man. Noon?
I was praying for an early start. Can't take it anymore.
Come on, man. Noon for biggest game of the season in the NBA?
Hey, the NBA is going to NBA, man.
No, not in this case, man. They're going to get that right. All right. Let's get into the latest here. Go to legalsportsreport.com for the latest on this column. Sam's got it here. New recommended practices for some of these VIP programs, responsible gaming. We've seen some of the sports betting operators being sued. Whether or not these clients who are suing are actually going to win anything still remains to be seen. But even if they lose, Sam, and they don't get a penny out of this, what it's doing is it's causing the companies to probably take a step back and say, hey, look, we got to do, honestly, Sam, I hate to say it. I'm not even sure that they're really going to put more things in action to, curb this, as opposed to just, hey, we don't want any bad press trying to have this appearance that we don't care. I mean, to me, sad to say, but I think that that's part of it.
Well, I admire your skepticism, Craig. I think this could be a win-win in this case. Even if it does accomplish something, it also, like you say, does give a good kind of PR positioning move of, hey, we're trying to get out here and address this. Of course, we're talking about the Responsible Online Gaming Association, which was this group founded by 8 operators, 8 sports books like FanDuel, DraftKings, which represent about 90% of the entire U.S. market. They formed this group last year to essentially pool together all the resources, get every one of the major sports books on the same page, because when a lawsuit happens against one of these companies, it doesn't just affect that company, it affects the entire industry. And what they did yesterday was release these guidelines for how they're going to operate their VIP programs under the principles of responsible gaming, which we know has been, if nothing else, a big messaging thing for these companies as of late. VIP programs, of course, are the most essential part, really, of any sportsbook, any casino's business. It is the program that these companies dedicate to keeping, retaining, making sure their best, highest paying customers continue to bet with them and are happy with them. It often involves, having your own personal VIP host that checks in on you, offers you free credit, sometimes, tickets to different sporting events, other incentives to keep you from betting with that book and going to another place. So ROGA, which is Responsible Online Gaming Association, implemented these practices. They say they want all their members to adopt on a commercially reasonable timetable. These are standardized practice for how you're going to train each VIP host, making sure that there's a confirmation that your VIPs know that there are responsible gaming tools available to them, making sure that you are using the data points that every sportsbook collects to monitor their activity, really just kind of trying to make this process better. And I think one of the ways they're trying to do that, even if they're not reinventing the wheel here, they want to make sure everyone's on the same page. And we know that's really hard to do, just to get 2 companies kind of in the same room together. And when you talk about 8, they want to share as much as possible. We talked about FanDuel a couple of weeks ago, implementing that real-time deposit monitoring tool, which was going to automatically alert you if, hey, you bet 10 times the normal amount, or you made 100 deposits in the last hour compared to your normal rate. These companies want to share that technology with each other. Of course, it's easier said than done. It's going to take a while for them probably to implement this, but it does come at a time, you're right, Craig, when FanDuel is being sued by the Jacksonville Jaguars employee that stole $20 million from the team. He alleges that their VIP host incentivized him to keep spending on his daily fantasy sports account with $1 million credits, with prizes, even saying that, hey, I know what we're doing is illegal, but we want you to keep playing. That case is still wrapped up in court. I don't see it really going anywhere. And then DraftKings is also dealing with a similar case. So it definitely comes at a time when these VIP programs are being brought into light. We're thinking about how do we discern high value players from the problematic ones.
I think that all of that is fair. Again, call me cynical and playing the other side of it. Fair enough. Okay, so this is a big story in my world here. For several years, Sam, I worked at the same radio station here in South Florida for I believe almost 10 years with Dan Lebitard, who is now, of course, gone on to an incredible media career, both at ESPN and now hosting his own show, which is with Meadowlark Media and now sponsored by DraftKings over the last few years again. And there's a new partnership with Meadowlark Media and DraftKings. So it seems like they're diving into the future here. I'm sort of familiar with this because, again, being in South Florida, and that whole group is from South Florida too. Maybe you want to expand a little bit more as to what it necessarily means, if there's any wrinkles or anything different than the previous agreement that they had several years ago.
Yeah, certainly, Craig. Meadowlark Media was, one of the original DraftKings content partnerships back in 2021 when Lebitard founded the company with John Skipper, who is the former president of ESPN. DraftKings was actually one of the original investors, and this agreement just renews the same partnership they've had for, several more years. Financial details haven't been disclosed, but the last agreement was about 3 years and $50 million, I believe. So have to imagine it's similar figures, if not better. But I think the really interesting thing here is it comes at a time when DraftKings specifically has been very vocal about not getting a lot of value out of these kind of partnerships. If you listen to any of their earnings calls, their CEO, Jason Robbins, will talk about one of the ways the company plans to make and save money is having these partnerships fall off and not renew them. So the fact that they did renew this partnership, I think speaks a lot to just how beneficial, not only, not how great that Meadowlark Media is obviously doing, with their venture, but how beneficial these partnerships can still have for a company like DraftKings. Of course, if they're working out the right way. DraftKings just sold VSiN, the Vegas Sports and Information Network, back to its original founders after owning it for about 4 years. So we see, while one deal goes, this deal is renewed. And, meanwhile, companies like BetMGM and Caesars have been fine with letting their media deals drop off. They've looked at that as a way to save money and, inch towards profitability. Then on the flip side, you have FanDuel, which has really gone the other way and invested in their own network. DraftKings, it doesn't seem like, wants to have their own television network, their own media empire, maybe yet. So maybe one of the ways they're going to keep kind of trying to expand the space is through deals like this. And you have to think that it's working out really well for them if they renewed it, especially at a time, when they're letting everything roll off.
All right, let's wrap it up. Another sweepstakes operator pulling out of a market happens to be New York this time. Unpredictable is the word to use that I would use, Sam, this year. Some markets, getting more of the sweepstakes, some, pulling out of the different sweepstakes. Hard to keep up, honestly. It's just basically every state is the wild, wild west. They just choose to do whatever they want to do.
Yeah, if you play sweepstakes in New York, you have until August 1st to pull out your cash or your winnings. VGW, which is one of the largest sweepstakes operators in the country. It runs companies like Chumba Casino, Lucky Land Slots, and Global Poker. They're leaving New York before New York actually even passed a bill to make them leave. There's mounting pressure in Albany right now. They're considering a bill which would ban these kind of games. These, of course, are games that look like sports betting or look like casinos, but they don't want to operate under that banner. They use a legal loophole to kind of get through that. And the fact that New York is even considering a bill and making the largest operator leave already, I think really speaks miles to just the mounting pressure they're facing and kind of where it's headed overall. These are companies that have launched in states like California, Texas, without sports betting options. And now they're already leaving a state like New York without them actually, physically passing the bill. And I think it'll have a ripple effect across the country. As a New Yorker, we like to think that we set trends, but when you look at New York and what they've done with sports betting, they've raised taxes, they've cracked down on pick'em fantasy sports, and other states have adopted it. So I wouldn't be surprised if you start seeing these companies exit other states as they consider similar bills.
All right, fair enough. Sam, good luck on Saturday. When I see you next week, we'll see what we got for the NBA Finals. Thanks again for coming on.
Thanks a lot, Craig.
All right, we'll be back with Mike Claiborne up next. The St. Louis Cardinals are having a surprising start to their season. Is it sustainable to play the way in next? Underway.
Face is the new face. New face of what? The hell are you talking about? Like seriously. Oh, the new face of the NBA, Anthony. Yeah, okay. You know what I mean? Like, really? Guy's got 2 shots. You're the face of the NBA. Slow down. He's a good player. I've always thought the whole face of the NBA thing was comical. You want him to be the face of the NBA because you don't like it that all the other faces of the NBA aren't American.
Sports Rage tonight, only on SportsGrid.
And if they go through Cat, that means Cat at 11-1 could be Eastern Conference Finals MVP. The worst team in the WNBA is the Chicago Sky. They have no perimeter play. They're playing too many minutes. And Angel Reese doesn't have the help she needs.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
I already heard yesterday that he's got no shot to win the Cy Young because it's going to Scooble again. Scooble's winning the Cy Young, no shot for free.
They're both terrific. They both have incredible numbers and credentials and stats and strikeouts and ERA and everything, like every single category. Freed is right there with him.
Pharrell, coast to coast, only on SportsGrid.
We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune in to Game Time Decisions weekdays on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. For those of you who are on social media, you may be interested in checking me out at Craig Mish. Just an interesting report. I don't know if you saw this story earlier in the week, but the Marlins, who will be on the pregame show tonight for, by the way, ended up designating for assignment a couple of players today. One is Matt Mervis, who was their first baseman. The other one is Ronnie Simon. If you're not familiar with him, he was the player that committed 3 errors and left the game the other day, was very upset, emotional at the end of the game, and he has been DFA'd. So what that means is potentially the last game that he plays in Major League Baseball may have been the game that we saw the other day. But this is the way baseball is. Statistically speaking, really hasn't been a big contributor to the club, so they went in a different direction. Designated for assignment means that some other team can claim him and then automatically goes into their system, may even get another shot. But I think we all would agree that we got to hope that he gets another opportunity to play in the big leagues and not have that game be his last game in the major leagues. But that just happened about 10-15 minutes ago, in fact, while we were on with Sam. So check it out on social media, all the coverage that we have here, my coverage here for you guys at SportsGrid, doing Major League Baseball, and also separately covering the Marlins as well. All right, so that's the latest in baseball. By the way, there are some big baseball games tonight, which I will get to in a minute. I want to preview a few of those on the schedule. But first, let's give you the latest in the National Basketball Association. We're going to have another game in the NBA's Eastern Conference Finals. It will be tomorrow night in Indianapolis between the Knicks and Pacers. And the reason why is because the Knicks took care of business in a big way last night. The final was 111-94. And now the series has been cut to 3-2. So the Knicks definitely back alive. As you can see, Jalen Brunson had 32 points. He had 14 points in the first quarter, and if you're asking me, was this much of a game? No. In fact, I think most of the attention last night in the NBA was honestly on what we thought may have been the final appearance for TNT's Inside the NBA crew, which was what a lot of people were talking about on social media last night with Shaquille O'Neal and Ernie Johnson and Kenny Smith and Charles Barkley. But I believe, is it on TNT, Frank, again tomorrow? So they'll get another show out of this? I think so. Maybe not. I don't know. Yes, so they at least get one more show. You know who gets one more show? Also, Tyrese Halliburton. He only had 8 points in this one on 7 shots. So the Knicks took care of business, and Halliburton did not. He'll get another crack at it. We'll hear from him in just a minute. But first, let's hear from Tom Thibodeau on shutting down Halliburton, who was just so phenomenal in the previous game.
Coach, can we talk about the job you guys did on Halliburton tonight, holding him to the points?
Yeah, sometimes, it's probably a combination of him, missing some shots he normally makes, but I thought our guys were tied together and trying to make him work for everything. And, that's what you have to do. We have to fight to win every possession.
How much does working on the offensive end of the floor play into that, making him work? It seemed like you guys were more intentional about trying to get him into action tonight.
No, it's basically the same, but sometimes you have opportunities to attack different ways, but there wasn't a big change offensively.
Just happy we responded, honestly. And we came out and we had some energy in the way we played, and I'm very proud of what we did. And we just got to replicate it in the first quarter of next game, and then continue to build on that.
And we'll have another game tomorrow night, as we mentioned. Also, big games this weekend in Major League Baseball. Let's get a preview of the latest on what's going on with the St. Louis Cardinals. Of Mike Claiborne of the Cardinals Radio Network, St. Louis Sports Hub, of course, a fantastic digital community that they have there going every single day, Monday through Friday. If you want to talk St. Louis sports, that's the place to go. Claibs is with us now here. Claibs, and hey, great to catch up with you. I did not think that we'd be in this spot here at the end of May with the Cardinals being 8 games over 500. I don't think the Cardinals thought they would be. I know it's a weird question to ask, but like, are they happy with this? Like, I mean, I hate to say, but like, I kind of felt like the season was going to go about 50-50 most of the way. Maybe they win some, they lose some. And then the transition would come eventually to this new GM and Chaim Bloom and everything else. But they are sort of telling Cardinals management, we're in it to win it.
Craig, you know what? You're right. No one thought we would be in this position. And now that they're in it, they want more. This is a team that I think comes July or August, you would improve to a point where you say, okay, this is what we feel like. This is who we know can do what and this and that. But it happened a lot earlier. And so right now they want more. They're aggressive. They're hungry. The question was going to be, are they going to be buyers or sellers? I think they're probably going to be buyers right now. I mean, and they have some assets that I know teams were looking at early. You know, you have Ryan Helsley, who had led the league in saves last year. You have some other guys who you could probably move and get something for. But right now, they like what they have, and they're probably going to look to add if they continue at this pace.
I think the key claims is maybe those players, specifically the pitchers, are the ones that we went into the season really not knowing what they would be, and they have definitely outperformed what we thought they would in Liberatore and Fetty. Sonny Gray's kind of always who he is. Palante's been okay. Miles Michaelis has had a very big rebound from his April start. And so, I mean, I don't know if this is sustainable, Claves. Why would the Cardinals sell? They're going to have to add to this.
Well, I agree. You know, I thought the key was what Miles Michaelis has done. He's in the last year of his contract, and he didn't have a very good season last year. You can ask him, and he'll tell you the same thing. He's given them a chance. And this is a guy who always takes the ball every fifth day. He is a guy that is a leader in the clubhouse for a lot of different reasons. And what he's done is given him a chance every night he goes out. Liberatore, you thought was going to be a good pitcher. You know, he's a former first-round pick by Tampa, and now he's taking the ball and he pitches with such confidence. Palante was a guy who was really good in the second part of last season, so you would hope that he was going to continue that. Fetty was a guy you thought you could be good enough where you could trade him for something because he's in the end of his contract. So it's been one of those situations where everybody thought that they were going to be good, but not this good.
Definitely so. We'll enjoy the weekend, of course, with the Rangers series. Claves, we'll catch up again soon. Thanks for coming on NewsWire.
Always a pleasure, my friend. Take care.
All right, Mike Claiborne joining us. Coming up next, we'll wrap up the show with some Spelling Bee news. What you've all been waiting all week for. That's what I got for you next.
Face is the new face. New face of what? The hell are you talking about? Like seriously. Oh, the new face of the NBA, Anthony. Yeah, okay. You know what I mean? Look, really? Guy's got 2 shots. You're the face of the NBA. Slow down. He's a good player. I've always thought the whole face of the NBA thing was comical. You want him to be the face of the NBA because you don't like it that all the other faces of the NBA aren't American.
Sports Rage tonight, only on SportsGrid.
And if you go through Cat, that means Cat at 11-1 could be Eastern Conference Finals MVP. The worst team in the WNBA is the Chicago Sky. They have no perimeter play. They're playing Sloot too many minutes. And Angel Reese doesn't have the help she needs.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
I already heard yesterday that he's got no shot to win the Cy Young because it's going to Scoogle again. Scoogle's winning the Cy Young. No shot for free.
They're both terrific. They both have incredible numbers and credentials and stats and strikeouts and ERA and everything, like every single category. Freed is right there with him.
Pharrell, coast to coast, only on SportsGrid.
We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune in to Game Time Decisions weekdays on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. Just a reminder for those of you who follow the fantasy baseball season, our fantasy content continues Saturday and Sunday morning. I'll be on tomorrow from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. Eastern with George Kurtz. And then Sunday morning, Joe Pizzapia and Matt Stryker have you also from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. Eastern. Let's wrap up the show with some record breakers in the WNBA. I'll tell you who the spelling bee champion is this year and also a nice gesture for former college football head coach Mike Leach. It's time now for some last licks. Okay, didn't know this happened, so thought it was pretty interesting to bring to the show as we wrap up the Chicago Sky franchise in the WNBA. For those of you who are unfamiliar, WNBA season currently underway, not just all about Caitlin Clark, who's not playing, some other good teams as well. So Courtney Vandersloot, she has become the official Chicago Sky all-time scoring leader. But what makes it really interesting is that she passed her wife, Allie Quigley, who used to play for the Chicago Sky, who is now retired. So really cool story happening there in the WNBA, and of course getting a lot of attention too. Congratulations to Courtney, who passed the record yesterday. We told you earlier in the week about other records that are being passed as well. This was a big one in the WNBA for that franchise last night. Okay, for those of you who have ever participated in a spelling bee, this story is for you. Once upon a time, I was in one as well. I think I was in elementary school, if I think back here. Congratulations. We want to give some credit to Faizan Zaki. Never heard of him before. He's 13 years old. So here's the deal. Last year, Faizan ended up coming in second at the Scripps National Spelling Bee, and this year he ended up finishing in first. So justice has been served. 13 years old, runner-up last year, and he spelled the word correctly to win, which I don't even know that I can pronounce. The word is eclaircissement, Laircissement. Did you get that? That's the word. He beat 240 students from around the country. Congratulations to him. Always want to give kids their credit here on this show. All right, former legendary coach in college football who passed away. His name was Mike Leach. You may remember him, of course, coached at Washington State, Mississippi State, and Texas Tech. Tragically passed away a couple years ago. College Football Hall of Fame made an announcement, which I think was awesome yesterday. They're lowering the win percentage to qualify for the College Football Hall of Fame in 2027. The number was 60. They've lowered it to 59.5%, which now makes Leach eligible to join the Hall. Now, of course, he still has to get in and get voted in, but just 1 percentage point, half a percentage point away from being eligible. They've made him eligible, as it was reported yesterday, first by Brett McMurphy. Nice gesture. I'm going to assume that this is going to get him into the College Football Hall of Fame. Once upon a time, a great coach in college football. And the Leach family, I'm sure, appreciates that as well. All right, that'll do it for our show today. Coming up next, Smiley Kaufman with the very latest at the Memorial, where Ben Griffin is on fire again, winning the Memorial after a day and a half. Wow, that's crazy. Scott Farrell, Coast to Coast at 3 o'clock Eastern. Front Office Sports comes your way at 6 to 6:30. Then from 6:30 to 8, it is Game Time Decisions, followed by in-game live game day from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. tonight. And then Gabe has Sports Rage tonight. Poor Gabe, he's got no hockey tonight to cover because we got to wait till Wednesday for Game 1 of the Stanley Cup Finals. And for those of you who, again, are streaming our show, maybe on your phone or a tablet or iPad, something like that, you can download the SportsGrid app. It's available for both iOS and Android. Just take out your phone and scan that QR code, and you'll be all set and watching us and streaming us throughout the day, throughout the week. Don't forget some great programming this weekend, too, with in-game live as well. Also want to thank all of our guests here on the show for coming on. They include Mike Claiborne, appreciate him, and Adam Kaufman, as well as Sam McQuillan for coming on as well. And thanks to Danny Burke. Big games tonight in, of course, Major League Baseball, Yankees and Dodgers, probably the series of the year. We'll be all set tonight with Max Fried and Tony Gonsolin. There's the matchup there. As you can see, pretty much I guess the Yankees are a little bit favored. They're minus 130 as they play the weekend in Los Angeles. We'll cover that for you on Monday when we come back here for our next edition of NewsWire. Thanks to Jake for filling in for Luke today. And of course, thanks to our producer, Frank. I'm Craig Mish. Hope you enjoy your weekend here on SportsGrid. I'll see you back here on Monday morning for our next edition of the show, 11 a.m. Eastern, exclusively here on NewsWire. Have a great weekend, everyone. I'll see you then.
Face. It's the new face. New face of what? The hell are you talking about? Like seriously. Oh, the new face of the NBA, Anthony. Yeah, okay. You know what I mean? Like, really? Guy's got 2 shots. You're the face of the NBA. Slow down. He's a good player. I've always thought the whole face of the NBA thing was comical. You want him to be the face of the NBA because you don't like it that all the other faces of the NBA aren't American.
Sports Rage tonight, only on SportsGrid.
And if they go through Cat, that means Cat at 11 to 1 could be Eastern Conference Finals MVP. The worst team in the WNBA is the Chicago Sky. They have no perimeter play. They're playing too many minutes. And Angel Reese doesn't have the help she needs.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
Already heard yesterday that he's got no shot to win the Cy Young because it's going to Skubal again. Skubal's winning the Cy Young, no shot for free.
They're both terrific. They both have incredible numbers and credentials and stats and strikeouts and ERA and everything, like every single category. Fried is right there with him.
Farrell, Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune in to Game Time Decisions weekdays on SportsGrid.